Good afternoon, I'm Rob Boskamp, and you're listening to South Texas Midday. Thank you for joining me on this Wednesday, July 30th. Coming up in just a bit, the first edition of South Texas Midday's Community Talks. Corpus Christi at-large City Council member Roland Barrera spoke on the phone with Lon Gonzalez about yesterday's City Council meeting. But first, a recap of events. Last night, in a 5-4 vote, the Corpus Christi City Council decided to pause the Inner Harbor desalination plant project for 30 days. According to Corpus Christi water officials at the meeting, the pause will cost the city as much as $10 million. This comes after scrutiny of the total project cost from City Council members and environmental concerns from citizens. Some members of the council are waiting to hear back from the Texas Water Development Board about how the loans for the project can be used. A special city council meeting is expected to be called next week over the project. We'll hear from at-large council member Roland Barrera in just a few minutes. City Council approved a $100.6 million construction contract to replace the aging chlorine system at O.N. Stevens Water Treatment Plant with a safer on-site chlorine generation system. That new system will produce at least 18,000 pounds of chlorine daily without the risks associated with transporting and storing chlorine gas. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality approved construction plans on May 30th. Funding comes from the Water Capital Budget Fund. Construction will begin following contract execution with an estimated 2028 completion date. City Council also approved an interlocal agreement allocating up to $2.5 million for storm drainage improvements. The agreement partners the city with the Port of Corpus Christi to upgrade Sam Rankin Street from Port Avenue to Interstate Highway 37. The port is responsible for the pavement reconstruction, curb and gutter, and sidewalk costs. The city is responsible for the storm infrastructure improvements. The project's funding is part of the $175 million Bond 2024 program. That project will begin in September. And City Council also authorized a sales agreement with the City of Rockport to purchase the assets of their city's natural gas utility system. That includes 189 miles of gas pipelines serving over 4,700 customers in Rockport, Fulton, and Lamar. Funding for the $5.5 million purchase comes from the 2025 Utility System Revenue Bond. CC Gas will take over operations before the end of September, and the City of Rockport will continue to handle customer service calls and billing for the next 2 years. And with that, we now go to Lon Gonzalez for the first edition of Community Talks.
And a good afternoon, everyone. Lon Gonzalez here. On the line, Corpus Christi City Councilman Roland Barrera. And City Council has been very busy, very, very busy as of late, concerning something very important to the city, the seawater desalination plant. Councilman Barrera, welcome. And I hear you are in need of sleep. Your meeting went way late.
Yes, it did. I think that's become the standard now. You know, I don't think that we'll be out before 10 o'clock anytime soon.
Wow, that's a sign of growth. I would say, at least in my opinion, it's a sign of growth. Looking at some of the things that happened here, the seawater desalination plant issue was delayed. Council postponed the funding for the plant by 30 days. What's your take on that? You voted against the pause.
Well, I think because there's a cost associated with losing time, and my take is that my colleagues, there's a few that it's anything but desalination. There's another couple of them that are looking for any reason to basically put the brakes on the project because it's one. I think a lot of questions have been asked and answered. And then we need to find a third and fourth source. I'm really frustrated because this current project that we're on is fully permitted. We have no regulatory agency that has challenges with it. We've given the green light from TCEQ, from the EPA, from the Army Corps of Engineers. The governor has spoken about how he supports this project. Several lawmakers, and I'm just at a loss. I don't know. I can't understand the motivation for my colleagues to want to put the brakes on a project that is so highly supported across the entire state.
I know that the City Council has discussed some alternative water supply projects in the past. Was that particular issue part of the delay? Are they still looking at other sources of water for the city?
Well, unfortunately, my opinion is that that's just an excuse. I mean, we've looked at every source, and we're continuing. We want to be diversified. However, there is no other project that is fully permitted. There is, other than the Nueces Wells project, which we're pursuing, which is a temporary project. There's no other project that we've been able to determine the actual cost. The Nueces River project, which is a city project on land that we own, we have certainty with regard to the pricing, the resource, and the permits, which we've been working diligently with TCEQ. All the others, none of them are fully permitted. And I mean, there's several, and none of them have definite rate models, and there would be an impact to the ratepayer. So there's a lot of uncertainty in several of these other projects.
Do you see a scenario at this point in time where the project doesn't go forward? Has anybody, kind of stopped to think about what happens if this doesn't move forward? But you've been talking about things that were already in place, and now there's a delay.
Well, I think there could be other resources available that I think, but it would be very expensive, and it comes to a point. I've been very supportive of industry, and there are those that say you oversold your water, and I've never thought from that perspective. I've always thought we're a unique economy where a large portion of our consumption goes to industry, which is incremental, which really is very important to the economy for the state of Texas and in the country and the world. And so we have a responsibility to be able to provide that resource if we want to continue to be that leader in industry. And so we have to look at it from that perspective. We can't just be myopic and say, the water's for you and me. It is, but there's a balance. And I think the challenge is that industry has already curtailed. In fact, last year they curtailed about a billion gallons for the year. And so now we're getting to the point as if they have to shut down equipment. Well, then all of a sudden their demand for fuel and plastics doesn't stop. So therefore, they have to reinvest elsewhere to be able to fill that demand of the water that they need, or they have to look at it. Okay, are we going to invest in other resources because the city's water is just too expensive because they waited too long?
Now, I understand the city council is also having a special session next week. Is that still on? And the focus will be on the desal again?
Well, that was if several of my colleagues had requested a letter from the Texas Water Development Board to try to see if the funds that have been procured for us to borrow to be able to finance this can be used for another purpose, which once again this was done without the knowledge of the entire council, was done without the knowledge of staff, which is very disappointing. We had received a letter yesterday from Senator Juan Chuy that it was if for some reason we should forego the funds, then there would have to be a competitive process for the bonds that haven't been sold, and their specificity with regard to the bonds that have already been sold to the bondholder. So my colleagues, however, weren't satisfied with that, and so they're trying to seek their own opinion, and they contacted the Texas Water Development Board independently.
At this point in time, the desal plant, it's the issue right now. And again, I think you touched on it just a while ago. A lot of public commenters have pointed to industry as the root cause of the water issues here in Corpus Christi. What's your take on that?
Well, obviously, I mean, there's a lot of interest. Obviously, there's the industry, there's obviously providing water, the drought, but there are also paid activists. At least when somebody from Flint Hills or Valero comes to speak, you can see the emblem on their shirt. But there's paid activists by the Texas Campaign for the Environment that, they come on a regular basis. And I think they've admitted, I've called some of them out, and they've admitted that they're paid organizers, and, they hang around. And I think that those comments are not indicative of the entire community. As I go out in the community, and whether it be my church, HEB, going to exercise at the gym, I always hear, hey, when are we going to get that desal thing done? Now, this is the individual that typically just kind of watches the news, watches the headlines. They're not watching the council meetings. So my take is that the majority of the community supports desalination, and they support jobs in the coastal bend.
Councilman Roland Barrera, we thank you for your time today, sir, and talking about this very important issue for the city of Corpus Christi and the entire coastal bend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Lon. Pleasure being with you.
Taking a look at the rest of South Texas, the new Harbor Bridge is now fully open to traffic, but crews continue work on the installation of permanent overhead signage, which means nightly lane reductions throughout the week. The lane closures will take place nightly from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Affected areas include the Crosstown Expressway southbound to U.S. Highway 181 southbound, as well as the loop ramp connection from Martin Luther King Drive to the Culberson Street frontage road. The first public private-owned brackish water desalination plant in Alice is now operational. Construction began 2 years ago, and since June, one of the plant's 2 water wells has been providing more than 1 million gallons of water to the city daily.
That's the whole purpose of this, is to be drought resistant, have an uninterrupted water supply, and that's what we're doing. It gives us comfort that we'll be able to survive as a city.
That was Alice City Manager Michael Esparza speaking with KRAS News. Officials expect the water plant to bring growth to Alice with a second well, which will provide more than 2 million gallons of water daily, scheduled to be operational in several months. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality gave final approval for the plant last month. This morning, the city of Corpus Christi unveiled the construction of a new police substation on the city's Southside. Voters approved the facility as part of bonds 2022 and 24. The 7,300 square foot substation is scheduled to be completed next July. Meanwhile, in Victoria, the County Commissioners Court approved a resolution opposing legislative efforts to prohibit local communication with legislators through bills such as Senate Bill 12 during their Monday meeting. Legislative proposals in the current special session, which started July 21st, including SB 12, would prohibit Victoria County from utilizing experts and others to assist with community challenges and issues, according to the resolution. Membership in state associations such as the County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas would be prohibited as well. And during that same meeting, the Victoria County Historical Commission was honored as one of a few in the state to receive the Texas Historical Commission 2025 Distinguished Service Award. The VCHC was recognized by county commissioners for its accomplishments. Out of the approximately 200 historical commissions across the state, the VCHC was one of 60 to receive the award. Port Aransas ISD staff will receive additional bonuses this year thanks to a donation from the Marlin Legacy Foundation, which recently presented the school district with a $100,000 check. The nonprofit works with local short-term rental companies to collect $5 donations from renters, with all proceeds going directly to the school district.
The money that comes from the Marlin Legacy Foundation goes directly to every single teacher and staff in the form of a monthly stipend. They see it on their check.
That was Felicia Foster, a Foundation Board of Directors member, speaking to KRAS News about the donation. The Marlin Legacy Foundation aims to raise $500,000 annually for Port Aransas ISD. Actor R.J. Mitty was in Brownsville earlier this week to help celebrate a new partnership. Brownsville officially announced the Mitty Cultural District will take over the Museum of Fine Arts building.
As a young adult, I firsthand seen the impact of arts that I had in my life, and that opened the doors for me. I believe that this is going to be a creative hub, not just for culture and arts, but for every aspect of community.
Mitty spoke to KRGV about the partnership on Monday. He is an actor best known for his role in the series Breaking Bad and is president of the Mitty Foundation. The organization plans to invest more than $2 million. Victoria ISD is facing a $3,000 penalty from the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation after a recent inspection revealed a sanitation violation at its Career and Technology Institute. According to the state agency, the school's cosmetology program failed to follow proper sanitation and sterilization procedures procedures for equipment. The violation was identified earlier this month during a routine inspection. Detar Healthcare System is partnering with South Texas Blood and Tissue to host a community blood drive next Thursday. The Bloodmobile will be stationed at the Medical Plaza parking lot at 506 East San Antonio Street in Victoria from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the campus of Detar Hospital, Navarro. The USS Lexington Museum's Air Wing is expanding, and this afternoon will feature a final flight of the TH-57C Sea Ranger Navy training helicopter. And joining that will be the Navy's newest training helicopter, the TH-73A Thrasher. It will be a rare dual landing on the bow of the Lex. Both helicopters will be on deck, allowing guests to get up close to the past and future of naval flight training after a brief turnover ceremony at 1 p.m. today. That ceremony is open to the public, included with paid general admission to the museum. In sports, the University of Houston-Victoria announced longtime assistant coach Kimberly Utrecht will take over as the head coach for the women's soccer team after 5 seasons as an assistant. She will be the first women's soccer head coach in the Texas A&M University-Victoria era. And coming up after South Texas Midday, drivers in the Coastal Bend have an opportunity this summer to find out how efficiently their vehicles are running. The cost? Absolutely free. I speak to Texas A&M Corpus Christi about the Auto Check program. We'll feature that in our latest episode of Community Focus. And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.